couldn't be bigger than Jay-Z. You couldn't sell more records than Jay-Z. But all you had to do was listen to Beanie Sigel, and Beanie Sigel was, oh my God.
It began in a studio. Before the world knew in Club, before 50 Cent became a household name, Jay-Z walked in and warned his entire Roc-A-Fella roster, flood the market, drop music now, 50 Cent is coming. Just months later, 50 dropped in Club, and everything changed. Radio waves, charts, and the streets were his, and Jay-Z was suddenly playing defense. The energy shift wasn't subtle, even Jay admitted it, and while fans thought this was just healthy competition, behind the scenes, Jay was already making moves to contain the threat. But why? According to 50, because Jay knew he couldn't beat him musically, not globally, not commercially, not culturally. My biggest album sold 5 million, DJ's best, 430,000. 50 didn't just win on the streets, he won worldwide, and Jay knew America could be bought with marketing dollars. But the rest of the world, not so easy. This wasn't about rap. It was about empire, control, power. 50 Cent wasn't the first, or the last artist that Jay-Z tried to silence. From the outside, Roc-A-Fella Records looked like a tight family, but inside, it was a battlefield. And Jay-Z controlled the release calendar like a general in a war. Beanie Sigel, one of the label's biggest talents, started to notice a disturbing pattern. Every time he dropped an album, Jay-Z would release his own at the same time. It wasn't coincidence. Beanie later admitted he used to ask himself why Jay never gave him space to shine. If fans had $20 to buy an album, and both records dropped on the same day, they were buying Jay-Z's every time Sigel was stuck in Jay's shadow, on purpose, and he wasn't alone. 50 Cent said it clearly. If you started gaining too much momentum under Jay-Z's umbrella, he'd find a way to keep you beneath him. It was never about support. It was about control. Jay-Z had the connections, the influence, the ability to flood the market, block appearances, and make people disappear from the charts without explanation. He did it to Nas, too. Back in their legendary feud, Jay allegedly tried to cut into Nas's album rollouts and prevent radio support. Nas survived, barely, but not everyone did. This pattern of sabotage wasn't just professional jealousy, it was strategic. Jay-Z wanted to be the king, and there was only room for one at the top. And when 50 Cent exploded onto the scene, Jay didn't just compete, he panicked.
Who don't understand? And he said, the white guy called for 50 Cent. So I said, who's the white guy? I'm digging this Jimmy Iovine. He said, no, Eminem called directly for 50. And he said,
that's his guy.
He said, I can't do it if I can't break 50 up.
But that's his guy.
That was beautiful.
And guess who's Dre's guy?
Your guy.
Jay-Z's on a whole nother level. Like, I mean, you know, he's like, but you know what I like about 50? 50's on a whole nother level, but he's still approachable. You still get to meet the people and you know, Jay got to remember the people that made him. You know, I'm not saying I don't got respect. I respect Jay-Z, 50, used to respect, you know, Diddy, but all that crazy going on. But, you know, I always respected him because I looked at, for New York, those were like the, you know, the guys. You know what I'm saying? The guys with the most money and the most influence. So with Jay is like, when the last time you haven't seen Jay, so I think people are just gonna say that. You know what I'm saying? But for me, I mean, Jay, you know, you gotta remember, he didn't want 50 at the Super Bowl. That was crazy. I'm like,
wait, Jay didn't want 50 at the Super
you didn't
Bowl?
know that? Yeah, he didn't want.
I remember Eminem pushed for it.
That was some hate. Yeah,
I remember Eminem was like, I'm not gonna do it unless 50 does it. I heard that.
Yeah,
but I didn't know that Jay was trying to stop it.
I don't think Jay. I don't know. 50 never told me that, but I don't think Jay wanted him there. I don't know.
Because of what, some of the.
I mean,
the back
you
and
know,
forth,
it's competition. You got to think. 50 always been competition for Jay. Remember, I'm about $1 with the 50 Cent.
That was a long time ago.
That was what, 9? What was that?
But
9?
But after that, they did a song together. Remember
yeah,
the whole,
of course, but 50 was
sneaker
50
thing?
was always competition for. Then remember Jay said, yo, 50's coming. He told Sigel and them, and Memphis Bleak and all them.
Yeah.
And come on, 50's like, he's on a whole nother level. You gotta remember, he came after Jay and Roc-A-Fella, G-Unit came. And people might G-Unit, but with Eminem, Dr. Dre, 50 Cent, nobody has outsold us, bro.
Yeah.
Nobody has had the effect that we had.
This clip, guys, if you haven't seen it, which I hadn't seen it until this morning when I saw this headline, Kim found it for me. Let's watch this clip quickly.
Crazy
Let's
that you
watch
haven't
Tyra
seen this.
pushing to get this out of Rihanna, and when it does, man, it made me feel very, very uncomfortable.
Audition. Yes. But before I met him, I was so nervous. I was shaking literally. But the moment I walked into the office, the atmosphere was so warm and welcoming.
And you had to sing a cappella for him?
Yes, I had to sing. I sang Fun to Replay. I sang another ballad from the album last time.
Yeah. So then what did he say to you? He said something to you.
Oh yes, he said, we don't sign songs here, we sign artists. And there was this little pause, and I was nervous. But then he said, and we're interested. And there was this sudden feel of relief.
But then he said something about a window and a door or something.
Oh, then he said, he did it homework.
I did a lot of homework on you, Miss Lady.
He said, there are two ways to leave here, either through the door with the deal signed or through this window, and we're on the 29th floor.
So you was like, where's the pen? Where's the paper? I'm signing.
Yeah.
The audience is so uncomfortable. Like, I don't know if Tyra was trying to get that on the record, but my God, what Jaguar? He threatened her. This is her own words coming out of her mouth. And she was a kid at that time, correct?
15-year-old girl who had been flown to the United States without parental supervision or a chaperone, brought to a grown man's office in a large corporate Manhattan building. Everybody knew when she flew in. I was there the day she got signed.
For years, Jay-Z has been celebrated as a self-made mogul, a business genius, a man who rose from the streets of Brooklyn to billionaire boardrooms. But according to 50 Cent, one move changed everything. Marrying Beyoncé, it wasn't about love, he says. It was a contract. Before tying the knot with Beyoncé in 2008, Jay-Z had just 1 Grammy. After the marriage, his award count exploded. 18 Grammys. In under a decade, and not just Grammys. Magazine covers, luxury brand deals, political invites. Suddenly, Jay-Z wasn't just a rapper, he was an icon, a businessman, a symbol of black excellence. But 50 wasn't buying it.
Jay-Z's career, you can look at that and say the association to Beyonce is when he started to receive the 16, 17 Grammys since he's been with Beyonce, right? And you go prior to that, 1.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So that came in association, like you see the kids even have Grammys. Like they don't sing yet. They don't sing.
Right.
They don't rap yet. And they already have Grammys and shit. So it's like they give them this trophy so we secure that they're coming to the award show. It meant that much to the culture that they just gave them.
Why are you so on top of the business side of Jay-Z? You know what I'm saying? Some people like to just be an artist.
Yeah, I was actually forced to be an artist and a businessman because when I tried to get a deal, I couldn't get a deal, so I had to create Roc-A-Fella Records. We actually created Roc-A-Fella Records from nothing. And, so I was forced to know both sides of the business.
That's about Jay-Z. Jay-Z has now had an official lawsuit. It's everywhere. It's now being talked about louder than ever. I guess, does that give you some peace to know that people are finally really questioning this man?
It's emboldening me. I spoke on Piers Morgan. I said that I had 3 victims that I've been working with, victims of the Carters, that were ready to come forward. This might help them feel a little more confident now. So this is great because he's been evading. But the thing is, everyone in the backdrop knew that he was the celebrity John Doe. Everybody knew that. They knew it when I did Piers Morgan.
Is Beyonce Celebrity B?
I hope to God not. But she was around. And she's very... she's got enough on her plate. After everything that happened with the election and everything that's happening right now, I'm not going to dump on that woman. She got better fish to fry.
Well,
what I will say is that her husband, she knows exactly who he is.
Yeah.
after her album came out, as opposed to the joint album that we were working on. We still have a lot of that music. And this is what it became.
And anger at you. What were those conversations like?
Again, it didn't happen in that way. It happened, we were using the music she was making at that time was further along.
Accusation about Jay-Z and Diddy and a teenager, 13-year-old.
Right.
And we were speaking about just the statement.
Right.
The statement, you were saying you felt like that was calculated.
That was, that the statement is something from, you can tell it's written by a lawyer. Because there's a point where it kind of gets aggressive. He says, like, you're gonna find out, like how I'll handle this. Like, and that's an attorney want to be combative with another attorney. That's not like a publicist wouldn't say those things. You know, I'm just trying to figure out if we're still doing everything the way. Because look, they will fall back, but the NFL, they won't necessarily be associated to that.
Right. Why do you not insert yourself, but you're on top of every topic, right?
Yeah. I'm just watching. I'm participating. I'm being part of culture. I'm just telling my opinion.
Right.
Look,
because you're part of the culture.
Like I can't say anything now. I'm out of it. I'm like I'm going to Dre's studio and just sit with Dre alone.
Right.
And then maybe I stay out of trouble.
Nah.
50 Cent doesn't care how powerful you are, who you're married to, or what boardroom you sit in.
At first glance, the 2022 Super Bowl halftime show was a celebration, a historic lineup showcasing the biggest names in hip-hop: Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, Eminem, Mary J. Blige, Kendrick Lamar, and, to the surprise of many, 50 Cent. But what most people didn't know was that 50 Cent almost didn't make it? And the reason, according to numerous sources and insiders, including 50 himself, it was Jay-Z. Let's rewind. Jay-Z had signed a deal with the NFL in 2019 through Roc-Nation to become their live music entertainment strategist, giving him unprecedented control over major NFL music events, including the Super Bowl halftime show. At the time, the move was controversial. Some accused Jay of selling out, especially given the NFL's ongoing controversies around Colin Kaepernick and racial injustice. Jay defended the partnership, framing it as a way to effect change from the inside. He wanted to influence the narrative, to control how Black culture and artists were represented on one of the biggest stages in the world. But behind the scenes, that control came with conditions, and it quickly became clear who was in and who was out. When Dr. Dre, Eminem, and the NFL began planning the 2022 halftime show, Eminem made one thing crystal clear: if 50 Cent isn't performing, I'm not performing either. This wasn't just casual loyalty. Eminem and 50 Cent go way back. Eminem signed 52 Shady Records in 2002 when the industry had all but written him off. The result: Get Rich or Die Trying, one of the most explosive debut albums in history. Their bond was forged in fire, and Eminem doesn't forget loyalty. Jay-Z, however, wasn't on the same page. According to insiders, Jay pushed back on 50 Cent's inclusion. He didn't want him on that stage. Whether it was lingering tension, personal rivalry, or something more political, Jay allegedly tried to block it. But Eminem stood firm. 50 himself later confirmed it in interviews, stating that he only found out he was being excluded when it reached Dre and M, and they pushed back hard. M said, "I'm not doing it if 50's not there," and that was it, 50 explained. In the end, Jay-Z and Roc-Nation backed down. 50 performed, but the damage was already done. Not to the show, but to Jay's image in the eyes of many insiders. Because this wasn't just about a concert, this was personal. Let's break this down. Why would Jay-Z want 50 Cent out? On the surface, Jay and 50 should be peers. Two icons of New York rap, both turned moguls, but their history is layered, competitive, and often cold. Jay-Z never really embraced 50. In fact, their beef dates back to 1999, when 50 Cent released his breakout diss track, How to Rob. In the song, 50 named Jay-Z and dozens of other rappers as hypothetical robbery victims. It was satire, but it made people uncomfortable. Jay responded publicly at Summer Jam, throwing a line back at 50, "Go against Jigga. Your ass is dense. I'm about $1. What the F, asterisk, 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 is 50 Cent?" From that moment, the rivalry was set, but unlike Nas, who Jay eventually reconciled with, he never made peace with 50. Instead, Jay played chess, avoiding direct confrontation, but never lending his platform or cosign. And when 50 exploded in DA Club, Jay watched as this new force bypassed the traditional gatekeepers, including him. Now fast forward to the Super Bowl. The halftime show isn't just any gig, it's the most watched televised event in America. Over 100 million people tune in, and Jay-Z was in charge of who got that stage. To Jay, this was more than a performance, it was a branding opportunity. His vision of black excellence meant artists who fit a certain image, polished, corporate-friendly, inoffensive. 50 Cent, by contrast, has always been raw, provocative, and unfiltered. He represents the street, not the boardroom. And that's where the real conflict lies. The cultural divide, corporate black excellence versus street legacy. Has crafted his image around prestige, partnerships, and legacy. He's worked with the NFL, started champagne brands, launched ROC Nation Sports, and built billion-dollar portfolios. His circle includes politicians, CEOs, and art curators. He attends billionaire brunches and speaks in vague metaphors about legacy and generational wealth. 50 Cent, on the other hand, stayed closer to the streets, even as he built his empire. He's not flashy with art or boardrooms. He invests in TV shows like Power, trolls on social media, and calls out hypocrisy in the industry. He's not interested in curated perfection. He thrives on confrontation, so when Jay tried to exclude him from the Super Bowl, it wasn't just a personal slight. It was a statement about what kinds of black artists are acceptable in front of the world. N250. That was a betrayal. Because here's the irony. While Jay has spent years preaching unity and empowerment, he was actively gatekeeping one of the few artists who broke through the system without help from the industry. Elite Eminem's role.
2020, y'all. Yeah. And it's different than when it was 2016. You know, the game has been elevated. As we can tell, there's no expense being spared. We had a black billion.
Loyalty over politics. Eminem's involvement was the wild card Jay-Z didn't anticipate. In an industry where most artists remain silent or play politics, Eminem is one of the few who puts loyalty first. When he told the NFL and Jay-Z that he wouldn't perform without 50, he put his entire legacy on the line. This was Eminem's first Super Bowl performance since his career began. He didn't need to include 50, but he chose to. Why? Because 50 had always shown up for him. And real loyalty runs both ways. Dr. Dre also had 50's back. Despite being more corporate in recent years, Dre never forgot who helped him revive his career in the 2000s. 50 was instrumental in that G-Unit era wave that made Aftermath dominant again. In contrast, Jay-Z's behavior appeared petty to many behind the scenes. It was another reminder of how calculated his moves have become. Jay wasn't just managing entertainment, he was managing perception. And 50 didn't fit into the polished, controllable narrative. The fallout, what it says about Jay-Z's attempted exclusion of 50 Cent from the Super Bowl performance exposed something much bigger. Jay-Z may talk about lifting up black voices, but his actions often suggest a desire to control which black voices get a platform. And when the idea that someone like 50, who built his career without cosigns, survived multiple assassination attempts, created iconic music, and launched successful shows, could be denied a seat at the table, speaks volumes, and it isn't the first time. Jay has allegedly gatekept access. Remember, this is the same Jay-Z who tried to block 50 from major label exposure early in his career, who reportedly attempted to block Nas's album sales during their feud, and who constantly released music to overshadow artists like Beanie Sigel. Now, he's trying to rewrite the narrative through corporate deals and curated events, but 50 won't let him. He keeps speaking out, reminding people of what really goes on behind the curtains. And this time, the public is listening, because thanks to platforms like social media and long-form podcasts, the industry can't bury the truth as easily as before. The audience is smarter now. They're paying attention. They're connecting the dots. Jay-Z may control the image, but 50 Cent controls the story. And that's more powerful than any Super Bowl stage. One of the most disturbing claims surrounding Jay-Z doesn't come from rivals or tabloids. It comes from the timeline of one of the biggest stars in the world, Rihanna. She was just 16 years old when she was flown to America from Barbados. No parents, no chaperone. Just a teenager, alone in a foreign country. And where did she end up? Alone with Jay-Z, in his office, at 3 a.m. auditioning, according to insiders. That's when the deal was signed. The fastest contract in Def Jam history. Rihanna was officially a star, but the circumstances, terrifying. Jaguar Wright, a former ROC Nation affiliate, has been sounding the alarm for years. She says Rihanna's signing wasn't just fast, it was predatory. A young girl, left alone in a conference room for hours, then signed by a grown man at a time of night no teenager should have even been out. And it doesn't stop there. There are rumors Jay-Z was more than just her mentor. Whispers of a relationship, of control, of manipulation, even alleged cheating on Beyoncé with Rihanna in the earliest stages of their marriage. The industry stayed quiet, but 50 didn't. He brought it up in interviews. He asked the uncomfortable questions. Why was a 16-year-old flown out at night? Why was she signed in a hotel room? Why did her father get a $500,000 check? And more importantly, why did no one say anything? Because Jay-Z isn't just a rapper, he's a gatekeeper. And in this industry, when one man controls access, nobody wants to risk their seat at the table. But 50? He never needed that table. In 2014, a short surveillance clip from a Met Gala afterparty changed how the world saw Jay-Z. The footage showed Solange Knowles, Beyoncé's younger sister, physically attacking him in an elevator while Beyoncé stood silently to the side. There was no sound, no context, just kicks, slaps, and a very uncomfortable Jay-Z trying to defuse the situation without reacting. For years, people speculated, was it about infidelity, jealousy, a personal dispute? The Carters never offered a real explanation, only calling it a private family matter in a vague statement. But the silence didn't stop the headlines, or the interpretations. Too many observers, including insiders like Jaguar Wright, this was more than a family fight. It was the boiling point of something deeper. A moment that exposed cracks in Jay-Z's carefully curated image as a husband, leader, and businessman. At the time, reports suggested that the fight stemmed from Jay-Z allegedly flirting with designer Rachel Roy at the party. Roy had already been the subject of rumors about being Becky with the good hair, the phrase Beyoncé later referenced in her Lemonade album. Whatever happened at that party, it was enough to send Solange over the edge. What stood out even more than the physical confrontation was Beyoncé's reaction, or lack of it. She didn't step in. She didn't defend Jay-Z. She didn't defend Solange either. She just stood quietly, letting the moment unfold. That stillness, too many fans, said everything. It was restraint, but it was also a kind of silent agreement. Later, Beyoncé and Jay-Z both addressed the issues, not directly through interviews or press conferences, but through music. Beyoncé's Lemonade painted a vivid portrait of betrayal, rage, grief, and ultimately forgiveness. It confirmed what many had suspected, that Jay-Z had been unfaithful. Jay responded with 444, an album that came across as an open apology, filled with regret and admissions of emotional immaturity. Their musical responses were praised for their honesty, but they also highlighted a pattern. Jay-Z doesn't talk. He controls narratives through art, through partnerships. 50 Cent speaks freely because he doesn't owe Jay-Z anything. He's built his own empire outside the ROC Nation system. And that's rare. Most artists, they stay quiet because they know what happens when you go against Jay. He runs the shows, the labels, the award shows, the business deals. If Jay-Z doesn't like you, you don't get in the room. Even legends like Beanie Sigel and DMX felt the sting. Album delays, radio silence, canceled opportunities, all traced back to one man pulling strings. That's why so many artists tiptoe. Why they stay neutral. Why they never mention his name. But 50 Cent, he's different. He's not just calling Jay-Z out. He's exposing the fear that's kept the industry quiet for decades. And now, that fear is cracking. One lawsuit, one story, one truth at a time. Through every twist in this saga, one thing has stayed constant. 50 Cent doesn't back down. Not for the industry. Not for Jay-Z. Not for anyone. And one of the main reasons he can speak so freely. Eminem. From day one, M had 50's back. He signed him when nobody else would. He went against labels, critics, and execs to make sure 50 had a shot. And when the Super Bowl halftime show came around, Eminem showed the world just how deep that loyalty goes. Jay-Z allegedly tried to block 50 from performing. Said he didn't belong, that he wasn't the right fit for the image. But M wasn't having it. He told the NFL, straight up, "If 50's not on, I'm out." That one move changed everything. Because Jay-Z had power, but Eminem had leverage. And in that moment, 50 wasn't just another rapper. He was a symbol of loyalty, respect, and independence. While Jay played politics, M and 50 played principles. And that's why their legacy lasts. For years, Jay-Z's name meant power, money, respect. But now, that armor is cracked. The lawsuits, the silence, the elevator, the industry whispers, piece by piece, the truth is coming out, and 50 Cent. He's not telling us anything new. He's just saying what everyone else has been afraid to say. Jay-Z built his kingdom on control, but he forgot one thing. Real power doesn't need protection. It doesn't hide behind PR teams, contracts, or curated award shows. Real power speaks truth. And right now, 50 Cent is the only one doing it, because while the world still sees Jay-Z as untouchable, 50 already saw through him.